Here, I have what we call a just question. Why do I think it's a just question? Because here, what is he doing? What is the writer doing by writing this entire paragraph? So, yes, any paragraph or any question that requires me to look at the entire paragraph, it is going to be a just question. But whenever you get this kind of question, I want you to quickly look at your answer options and not the entire options. Don't get me wrong. What I want you to notice are these terms. If your answer options are beginning with any of these terms, what is the writer doing in this entire paragraph? In this paragraph, the writer is criticizing, cautioning, being optimistic, advocating for something, being skeptical about something. What does it do? It does a very simple thing. It tells you that it is a just question, which is going to require you to read the entire paragraph, skim it basically. But it also happens to be a question where the tone of the writer, the attitude of the writer is going to matter a lot. And if you don't pay attention to it, in addition to what kind of ideas are there in the paragraph, if I don't notice the tone towards those ideas, then I'm not going to get my right answer. And if I want to identify the tone and attitude of a person in a paragraph, how can I identify it? By looking at the language. Look at the choice of words. What kind of words is the writer using? Positive, negative, when he's discussing a certain topic. That choice of words is going to be sufficient for you to know your answer. And how do we read for a just question? Well, how we read for a just question is very simple. You read the first sentence, which is going to be your topic sentence, and then you very quickly identifying, moving forward in your paragraph, if the remaining sentences are actually agreeing with that same idea, are they disagreeing with the same idea, or are they extending upon that idea by giving you more information about it? And that means we're continuing the same idea, but we keep on adding more details to it. That's the only difference here, right? Remember, I don't need to understand the details here too much. I don't. I just need to understand how many ideas I have. 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. So let's read the paragraph. The very first sentence I'm going to read carefully. The psychological impact and uncertainty related to learning of a potentially life-changing diagnosis. So what kind of diagnosis? See, first of all, we're talking about the psychological impact and the uncertainty of a life-changing diagnosis at a critical, very, very important time. It's a life-changing diagnosis. It's a very important diagnosis at a very important time for a family is one of the main concerns. So the writer is probably going to discuss the concerns in this paragraph, right? But when I start reading next, I figure out that the first iteration of this project is a reality. It's a fact. This is something that happened in reality, right? So that means they are taking on a real example of something that has happened. And if they go ahead and use any kind of real examples, if they use any kind of studies, if they use any kind of surveys, any kind of data, what are they doing then? Well, whenever a person does it, let's say this is my opinion, and now I've started giving you any of these things. What I'm essentially doing is giving you an opportunity to show you actually how I support my opinion by using these, which means before I discuss this real example, hypothetical example studies or surveys, I have already given you my opinion. And these surveys are only going to prove what I think, what I believe in one of these forms. And now let's see. The writer thinks that the kind of impact it has on a patient's family at this important time, it's one of the main concerns. And then they started talking about the project, which also revealed relevant information of the analysis of their baby, including the predisposition of some late onset disease. It was a controlled trial. It was a controlled trial. That means it was a good enough trial. You can believe its results. And then they say that they're randomly assigned to receive the genetic information. So when they're receiving the information, they're saying the same thing. The trial included questionnaires to assess the psychological impact, which we are interested in. And having this knowledge, the study did not find, this is something important, the study did not find any negative psychosocial effects on families. This doesn't work, does it? I saw early on that the writer thinks that this is one of the main concerns, what kind of impact it could have on the person's family, right? But here they are saying that they did not find any negative impact. So that's not supporting the opinion. Wait a second. They did not find any negative psychosocial effects on families who received the genetic information, even when genetic disease risk was detected, even when they are confirming that, listen, your baby does have a genetic disease risk. Still, they are not finding these negative psychosocial effects. And then it happens. Then the writer uses although. Now I automatically know that the writer is going to go back to his own opinion. And I'll show you why in a second. But here, notice this. Although these results are encouraging, they are very, very encouraging. Definitely, it's a good thing, right? More data from ongoing and future initiatives will be crucial, paramount, important, extremely important actually, to ascertain, to find out the psychological impacts of expanded newborn screening. What happened here? A very simple thing. Whenever I use the structure although in your reading paragraph, especially in part C, I'm going to do one of two things. And if you learn this today, you're going to find it really, really helpful later on. The first thing that I can do is I am talking about something and I'm saying some positive things, let's assume. Then I keep on talking, and then I use although. Now it can go in two ways. Let's assume that this is the first way. I say something negative about this idea, but what have I done? I've said something negative, but I will now, this is what we call the main clause. If you know a little bit about grammatical structure of although, you should, by the way, this is a main clause. Here in the main clause where I want you to pay attention. Here I will 100% say something positive again about this idea. So what am I trying to prove to you? This main clause, I am strengthening my same idea that I mentioned early on, strengthening the same idea, the same idea. The other thing that I could do, this is the second thing, I could use although in the same paragraph and I could say something positive. That means I could agree with what we were saying so far, right? It seems like I'm on track for the same thing. But remember, this is the main clause. And if this is the main clause, and this is the main information where I want you to pay attention, if I've already said something positive, I have to say something negative here. Then this is the idea that I want you to focus on. This has a lot to do with the subordinating clause, which starts with the although. We use although when we want to combine two contrasting ideas. That is why although exists. So if I said something positive here, I have to say something negative here. If I said something negative here, I have to say something positive here. And if I agreed with the previous statement, but I then made another point here, then this is the main thing that I wanted you to pay attention to all the time. Sometimes this is used in the middle of your paragraph to begin an entirely new idea, which is the opposite of what you have been reading so far, or sometimes it is used to make a point, which is what the writer is doing here. So notice how here the writer said that, listen, it's a concern that I have, understanding the psychological impact and the uncertainty which is related to a life-changing diagnosis at this time. And then the writer uses this setting of a baby sequence project to kind of show you we did exactly what we wanted to do. Even though we found something positive, even though we found something positive, this is what I want you to understand. More data from ongoing future initiatives will be crucial. This is where I have my answer. More data from this will be crucial to ascertain. That means we still don't know enough. We found something positive, but we still don't know enough. And is the writer agreeing with the previous idea that he had here? Yes, it is the same idea that the writer had here and the same idea the writer has here. It was a concern of his, and here the writer has showed that we don't have enough information on this. So yes, it is the same one. Is the writer very, very hopeful? Not really. Is the writer very, very negative? No. The writer is simply saying that we need more future initiatives. We need more data. That means we do not have enough data right now. Now let's go to the paragraph. What is the writer doing? Is the writer criticizing the baby sequence project for causing psychological distress? It did not cause. It did not, because of this study, No psychological distress was caused to families. That is what I have an issue with. But if a student is only matching words, he would look at the word psychological, he would look at the word distress and families and the baby sequence project, and he would choose this to be the right answer. But it is not, it is wrong because this was never discussed in the paragraph. Then I have answer option B, which says the writer is highlighting concerns. It's one of the main concerns. The writer is highlighting concerns, but it is plural, isn't it? I only saw one concern here, psychological impact and uncertainty. Somebody could call it two concerns also, making it plural. Fine, let's read it then. So, highlighting concerns about the impact of genetic screening on newborns. What kind of impact it could have on the person? It's one of the main concerns. Yes. However, the point that they made here was that we don't know what kind of impact it could have because the study that we did or questionnaire that we did, it didn't show any kind of impact. So we don't know what kind of psychosocial, psychological impact it could have. But I could still consider this. So let's see. Now, looking at C answer option, advocating for more studies to better understand the psychological effects. This makes more sense to me than B because the writer is not highlighting concerns about the psychological impact. Here, they only used in option B, they only said impact. They didn't even specify what kind of impact, but I was still willing to look at that as a correct answer. But now I have answer option C. And in answer option C, they're saying that psychological effects, specifically what we have been discussing in the entire paragraph, advocating for more studies. That means this person says that, listen, we need more studies to understand this better. We already think that there is some relationship, right? To better understand the psychological effects, we need to do more studies. So they need more data from ongoing, the current studies which are happening right now, and the future studies also, future initiatives also. It will be very, very crucial. Look at the language. The writer is saying it's very crucial, it's very important. It's a concern, which is why it's very, very important. We don't have enough information, we need more information. If I compare B and C, I would definitely go with answer option C. But I can see why a student would consider B answer option, but it would be wrong. So far, I think C could be my right answer. Now let's look at D. The writer is optimistic about the lack of any psychological impact on families. The writer doesn't think that it's a positive thing that they have found literally no psychological impact on families. The writer is making a point here when he's saying that, listen, although we did not find this, although this is encouraging, this is my main idea. This is what the writer is trying to do from the beginning. Still, I'm concerned about it, right? Still, we need to do something more about it. So he's not optimistic about the lack of this. Rather, he's saying that, listen, we need to do this. So I would choose my answer option C. Now, if you found this video helpful in helping you understand how to answer this question, then I would highly recommend liking this video, hitting the subscribe button, and sharing this video with your friends who are also preparing for OET exam and have some problems in their reading module. Let me know if you want me to keep making such videos. Bye.